Good morning, gang. Happy Friday morning, though I'm recording this late Thursday. I want to thank Adam for the lead on this story, and I just spent the last few hours digging into it as best I can find. I want to start your Friday off with some potentially fabulous news for those of us who still love this country. Adam sent me an email with a link to a video yesterday that I sat down and watched, about the first half an hour of it at least, while I was waiting for glue to dry on my stairs as I'm putting the boards in. Okay. This is something that you're not going to hear on the mainstream media, guaranteed. But this case has made it all the way to the Supreme Court and has been docketed. Now, I'm taking a guess that with all the news that you've heard, taking up cases about Planned Parenthood, taking up cases about bakers that refuse to bake wedding cakes for certain people, taking up God knows what. But have you ever heard of Brunson versus Alma S. Adams et al.? Probably not. Okay. This is a case that was brought by four brothers, okay? Loy, Rayland, Duran, and Gaynor Brunson, all from Utah, okay? They claim that they and the rest of the U.S. population was defrauded in 2020. Now, I'm going to try to keep my language somewhat clear, okay? I don't want to say talk in code or anything like that, but of course the algorithm will go after me. I want you to look at this picture to start off, especially if the algorithm catches me. This is a screenshot from the Supreme Court of the United States website listing the docketed case 22-380 on the bottom. There will be a bunch of links underneath this video for you to go read everything. Most of those links are going to come from the SCOTUS website. Okay? So this is not some conspiracy theory. This is something that is in front of the Supreme Court. Okay? This is the lawsuit. Okay? The defendants are President Biden, Vice President Harris, former Vice President Pence, and 385 members of Congress for breaking their oath by voting against a proposition that came from members of Congress to investigate the claims that there were enemies of the Constitution who played around with 2020's results. I'll change that word a little bit, okay? Because otherwise I'll get zapped. The case is being brought up like this. How can you support and defend the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic? Answer. You investigate. If there are claims that there is a threat, even if you don't believe there is a threat, you investigate. How else can you determine if there is a threat unless you investigate? Answer. You can't. Were the claims of a threat to the Constitution? Yes. Where did these serious claims come from? 100 members of Congress. Okay. What was the threat? That there were enemies of the Constitution who successfully manipulated the 2020 election. Is this lawsuit about a manipulated election? No, not at all. It is about members of Congress who voted against the investigation, thereby thwarting the investigation. This was a clear violation of their oath. The recourse that the plaintiffs are seeking, that defendants be permanently removed from office and not allowed to hold a public office again. That's not a pipe dream. That's in the Constitution. That's U.S. law. That if you are, and you've heard of this one because they tried to get Marjorie Taylor Greene on this, committing an act of treason against the United States is grounds for immediate removal and barring of ever running again. The president, the vice president, and 385 members of Congress are at risk here. If we get into how important this is, okay, not only has this case made it to the Supreme Court, they are going to, and trying to explain this a little bit, how the court works, and I'm not a lawyer, okay? Don't play one on TV, nothing like this. The Supreme Court is going to take it to committee. The 9 justices will read the case and then vote on whether it will go to a full hearing. It takes 4 justices to take this to a full hearing. Will they get 4? We don't know. But this was announced on Wednesday that the court is going to hear this sometime in the January 2023 session, because as the plaintiffs put it, this is a matter of national security, and the Supreme Court agreed. Every hurdle they've had to cross so far, they have. There was no objection by the U.S. Solicitor General, who is now going to be defending the president, the vice president, the former vice president, and the majority of Congress. There is a real possibility, guys, that a lot of Washington could feasibly be removed and forbidden from ever holding public office again. Now, how that would work, obviously this has never happened in the United States before. Because could this completely put us in anarchy? Yeah. All right. All of a sudden, if the Supreme Court agrees that the Brunson brothers are correct in this, and they order, remember, there is nowhere to go after the Supreme Court. Whatever the Supreme Court says goes. If the Supreme Court comes down and says, I don't care if it's a 5-4 decision, that all of these people are removed from office immediately, that doesn't mean when their successor is found. Immediately means immediately. That would leave the United States temporarily without a president, without a vice president, and without the majority of both houses of Congress. I have no idea how we recover from that. I mean, talk about holding special elections. I mean, how do you do that? I mean, you've got to literally hold them immediately. It can't be, gee, we'll have a campaign and we'll fix this in 2024. No, I mean, immediate means immediate. I don't know if it would be governors appointing senators. Remember, governors don't appoint temporary representatives, okay? Senators, they can. Representatives, no. Those have to go to special election. Who would be able to appoint a temporary president, a temporary vice president? I do not know. I'm not even pretending to guess what would happen. But with everything going on in the world right now, Ukraine, China, Iran, the economic disaster we're in, the southern border, the crime rate, et cetera, et cetera. You tell me, what's worst case scenario? The leadership that we have out of the current administration, or no leadership at all, okay? And I can make arguments for both sides. But this is a legitimate case that is going to be heard, at least written arguments are going to be discussed by the justices. Could it get to oral arguments? Possibly. We'll know in January. We may be witnessing something on behalf of these four brothers where our entire government, or damn close to all of it, is disbanded. Some people would say that's a good thing. Some people would say, holy crap, have we just lit the fuse? Be ready for this one, guys, because the media is not talking about it. But like I said, I will put every link below. You can go read all of this yourself directly from the clerk of the Supreme Court. Pinball out.